The red and blue police lights danced across the stucco walls of Maple Rest Heights like the whole neighborhood was filming the opening scene of a cheap episode of Cops. Meanwhile, I was sitting in the back, hands cuffed, thinking, wow, just the peaceful Saturday morning I was hoping for. Outside, our neighborhood's resident Karen, sorry Madam President of the HOA, was sipping Chardonnay from a tumbler etched with the name Patricia like she was at a victory party. You'd think she'd just personally captured El Chapo right on her front lawn. Neighbors poured out of their houses, phones out, recording, eyes lit up like kids spotting the ice cream truck. A few whispered, "I knew it. You can just tell by looking at his car." And Patricia was pacing back and forth, loudly declaring, "HOA rules apply to everyone, even millionaires. See? Here's the thing. I'm not a criminal, not a drug dealer, and definitely not running a stolen car parts ring. I'm just some idiot who dropped a fortune on a quiet corner lot to show off my classic car collection." But Patricia, the kind of person who thinks every blade of grass should be exactly the HOA-approved length, was convinced my newly acquired 1,965 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow was a threat to the harmony of the Coster neighborhood. And that morning, she decided to turn my life into the season finale of a reality television show I never signed up for. What she didn't know was that in just a few weeks, she would be the one wearing prison orange. 3 years ago, I bought the corner lot in Maple Rest Heights for 2 reasons. 1, peace and quiet. 2, a driveway long enough to park my entire fleet of classic cars and still have room for a BBQ party. I thought I'd found suburban paradise, until I met Mrs. Rulebook, also known as Patricia Brennan, HOA president. She's the kind of person who, if your grass is half an inch taller than HOA standards, will immediately call the emergency landscaping hotline, which is just her, and then mail you a fine. Patricia believes every house in the neighborhood should look like the cover of Better Homes and Gardens, circa 1994. No joke. She once fined a guy $300 because his lawn was too green compared to the approved shade of Kentucky bluegrass. And me? I had just brought home a 4-wheeled diamond, a 1,965 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, polished so perfectly you could see your future in it. And, as you can probably guess, in Patricia's eyes, that car might as well have been a UFO landing in my front yard, ready to shatter the uniformity of the community. That morning, I was happily buffing the car, daydreaming about taking it out for a spin later, when Patricia appeared. No greeting, no good morning. Just a stare, cold and unblinking, like an FBI agent sizing up a suspect. Then she turned and walked away. I didn't know it at the time, but she was already plotting to make me the next community security threat. And believe me, this was only the beginning. That afternoon, I walked out to the mailbox and found a brand new work of art. A sheet of A4 paper taped up with neon pink duct tape so bright, I'm pretty sure NASA could pick up the signal. The content? A friendly warning from the HOA, informing me that overly ostentatious vehicles must be stored in a garage to maintain the harmony and property values of the neighborhood. Translation: this isn't personal, but we hate your car. I figured maybe my neighbor Jeff was messing with me. He loves trolling me. But a few hours later, my phone started blowing up. Patricia had emailed the entire HOA mailing list, complete with a blurry photo of my Rolls and a caption that read, "Is this a car show or a crime scene in the making?" Of course, she wrapped up her email with, "Concerned residents, please stay tuned for updates on this troubling situation." In America, when someone says troubling, you know, they're really just pouring gasoline on the fire. The result? Within 24 hours, every time I walked past someone mowing their lawn, they looked at me like I'd just sold weapons to a cartel. I ignored it, thinking, the neighbors will realize this is just petty nonsense. But I underestimated Patricia badly. She wasn't stopping at a warning and a mass email. She was about to launch the next strike. The one that would have the entire neighborhood seeing me as a suburban Breaking Bad episode. If the last part was the trailer, this was the moment the movie started spilling blood. Sunday morning, I came back from the grocery store to find a notification from my home security system. Unusual motion detected. I pulled up the feed and couldn't believe my eyes. Patricia Madam, president of the HOA, was crouched next to my rolls, glancing around like a cat caught stealing food. But she wasn't just taking pictures. Oh no. She opened the car door, because I'd forgotten to lock it, and slipped a Ziploc bag filled with white powder onto the front seat. If you're thinking, there's no way, welcome to HOA Karen 101. 10 minutes later, like she was following a script, she called 911, her voice trembling in full Oscar-worthy performance mode. I see a suspicious Rolls-Royce. The door's open. There's a white powder inside, probably drugs. There are kids in this neighborhood. Please come quickly. 20 minutes later, the cops rolled in like they were busting a mafia hideout. 3 squad cars, a K9 SUV, sirens, lights flashing everywhere. Before I could even ask what was going on, an officer told me to step outside, turn around, and click handcuffs, right there, in front of the whole neighborhood. Patricia stood a few yards away, live streaming on Facebook, loudly declaring, "Community safety comes first, even if it means arresting a millionaire." Some neighbors bought the story instantly and posted on Nextdoor, "Luxury car plus drugs equals danger to the neighborhood." I was hauled into the back of a squad car, while the white powder was bagged as evidence. Bad news for Patricia. It was just baking soda. Bad news for me. They still had to keep me at the station for a few hours to verify. A few hours was more than enough for my reputation to be shredded across social media. Sitting in that interrogation room cold enough to store frozen meat, I started wondering, should I sell the rolls to pay for a lawyer? Or keep it as Exhibit A against HOA Karen? After about 2.5 hours of waiting for verification, a young officer walked in, unlocked my cuffs, and said quietly, "Sorry, sir. The white powder is baking soda. And, we also just watched your security footage." I looked at him, trying not to grin. Let's just call it planted evidence and be accurate, shall we? Then a sergeant who also happened to be my golfing buddy from the country club walked in. His face turned as red as a boiled lobster when I told him the whole story, from the neon pink warning notice to the Facebook live stream. He didn't mince words. "David, this isn't a joke. This is filing a false report, staging a crime scene, and misusing emergency services. If you want to sue, you'll win." He slipped me a copy of the incident report along with the city attorney's phone number. Before I left the station, the sergeant added, "Oh, and we've had complaints about her for over a year, yelling at delivery drivers, fining kids for running lemonade stands. You've only just scratched the tip of the iceberg." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about clearing my name. This was an official invitation to launch a counterattack, one where HOA Karen would have to play a game she could never win, the game of law and public opinion. 2 days after I was cleared, Patricia received a very special gift from the city attorney. Not flowers. Not cake. A certified letter, an official written warning stating, "Cease calling 911 without cause or face civil and criminal liability." The best part? The letter wasn't just sent to Patricia, it was CC'd to the entire HOA board. And because it was a public record, it was posted right on the city's website under public notices. You know what happens when bored neighbors stumble across that kind of thing? Boom. The HOA Facebook group blew up like Walmart on Black Friday. Patricia's posts about my rolls mysteriously vanished. Then her private messages leaked. "I hate that car. It just screams show off." The HOA board called an emergency meeting. Topic: the president's conduct and its impact on the community. The outcome? Patricia was stripped of her executive powers and removed as admin from the HOA Facebook group she'd ruled over like a queen for 5 years. The following week, the residents' meeting hit record attendance over 200 people, 10 times the usual turnout. Everyone came with their own battle scars. One elderly woman said she'd been fined for having a garden gnome inconsistent with neighborhood style. A young couple said Patricia had their grass measured weekly to ensure compliance. When the vote came, the result was unanimous 100% in favor of permanently removing Patricia from the HOA board. Sitting in the back row, I just sipped my coffee and smiled. The game had only just begun. When you sue someone in America, there's a stage called discovery, or as I like to call it, the treasure hunt, where your lawyer gets to dig up every relevant email, text message, and document and drag them into the light. And oh boy, my treasure haul made the Discovery Channel's gold mining shows look like a garage sale. First, my lawyer got the security camera footage from my house, the very clip of Patricia opening my Rolls-Royce door and slipping a Ziploc bag of baking soda onto the front seat. Then came the HOA's internal emails, where she called me a show-off and promised to find a way to clean that pile of metal junk out of the neighborhood. But the crown jewel was an Excel file named Compliance, Score, XLSX. In it, Patricia had rated every house in the neighborhood on compliance, from 1 to 10, with personal notes for each. House number 14, too many Christmas lights, looks like Las Vegas. House number 8, dog barks too much, owner needs to learn control. And mine, thinks he's better than everyone, needs to be taught a lesson. Reading that, I was equal parts furious and amused. Who makes a hit list like some Bond villain? At her deposition, my lawyer simply played the video and asked, "Did you have any reason to believe this car was stolen?" Patricia looked down and mumbled, "No, I just thought expensive cars shouldn't be in this neighborhood. They make other people feel less classy." The room went dead silent. My lawyer just smiled. We'd just planted a bomb that Part 8 would blow sky high. When the court date finally came, Patricia walked into the courtroom like it was just another HOA meeting. Except this time, she didn't have the power to mute anyone's microphone. She refused a plea deal, convinced that if I just explained myself to the jury, everything would be fine. Trust me, this was the worst decision since Blockbuster turned down buying Netflix. The trial lasted 3 days. My lawyer played the video of her slipping the bag of baking soda into my car. The jury exchanged looks like, "Are we watching a comedy right now?" Then came the emails, the text messages, and of course the infamous Compliance, Score, XLSX. One older juror actually chuckled when he heard the line, "House number 8, dog barks too much, owner needs to learn control." After all the evidence was laid out, it took the jury less than 2 hours to deliver the verdict: guilty misuse of emergency services and filing a false report. The judge, looking both tired and annoyed, handed down the sentence: 30 days in jail, 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service in the very neighborhood she used to complain about, $8,500 in fines and court costs. As for the civil case, her insurance company quickly cut me a check for $75,000, along with a public apology letter that had to be printed in the newspaper and posted on the HOA website. Oh, and let's not forget the 100-foot restraining order, meaning if she ever wants to measure my lawn again, she'll need binoculars. When the judge finished reading the sentence, her legs seemed to give out, and she had to grip the table for support. Me? I just stood there thinking, now this is the most satisfying HOA meeting I've ever attended. After the trial, Patricia's life went downhill faster than the stock price of a company Elon Musk just trashed on Twitter. The very next week, the real estate firm she'd worked at for 20 years held an emergency meeting and promptly fired her. The official reason on paper, not aligned with company values. Translation: you've turned yourself into a city-wide meme. The state's licensing board wasn't about to sit this one out either. They suspended her real estate license for 2 years and required 100 hours of ethics training before she could reapply. Then came the knockout blow. Her husband filed for divorce and sought full custody of their kids. citing her criminal conviction as proof she was unfit to be the primary parent. The last time I saw Patricia, she was loading boxes into an old U-Haul, her face hollow and tired, getting ready to move back in with her parents in Ohio. Her once prized tumbler with Patricia engraved on it still sat on the porch, but this time there was no Chardonnay inside, just a thick layer of dust. As for me, I went right back to polishing the Rolls-Royce every weekend morning. And every time I hear that engine purr, I remind myself, sometimes justice doesn't wear a robe. It just needs a security camera and a HOA Karen willing to dig her own grave.